Your new life will cost you your old one. And while there's forward momentum aligning for you in this week's forecast, beware, because there's also tempting distractions that threaten to knock you off course and pull you back towards where you've already been. Hi all, welcome to Magic Monday, your weekly astrological horoscope series all about how you can co-create with the cosmos, how you can leverage this week's astrology and every week's astrology in order to navigate your universe with more alignment and thus make your life a little bit more magical. I'm your host, Haley Comet, and today we're discussing the astrology from November 4th to November 10th, 2024, focusing particularly on how these celestial shifts and changes will impact your universe down here on planet Earth. And in this week's sky, there is a fascinating story playing out. So last week we had that Scorpio new moon, which asked us to commit to what it is that we desire the most, to plunge into this new reality, into this new version of self, and to really enact the discipline necessary in order to support that evolution with the new moon trining Saturn. That story continues this week as we start the week with Sun trine Saturn, which is a reminder that your rebirth takes maintenance, your renewal takes focus, your reinvention takes restriction. And within last week's astrology, a lot of us could have made certain decisions around, if this is what it looks like to show up as my most powerful version, that means I need to eliminate this distraction. That means I need to say no to this habit. That means I have to have discipline in this arena of my life. And the thing is, when you make that decision, when you make that promise with the universe around, this is the direction that I'm going, this is the transformation I am moving towards, a lot of times you will be tested. You will be tested. The universe will test your resolve to see if you have fully learned the lesson and if you are truly ready to change. We might have been so certain that we wanted to move towards this vision of health by cutting out this bad habit. We might have been so sure that we want to focus our energy towards this particular promotion, being so sure that we want to hone in on this particular creative project. And while the week starts off on this very dedicated, devoted note with Sun and Scorpio trining Saturn and Pisces, by the weekend there's a temptation for a detour. And a dazzling, dizzying detour at that, because we have Venus in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces. And so this is the energy where you could have been so certain, I want to move towards this promotion, but all of a sudden you see this other job description and you're like, ooh, that looks a lot more glamorous, that looks a lot more interesting, diluting your focus from what it is that you were building towards. Or you might have been all in on this particular strategy in order to reach your health goals, but then you see something on social media around how this person did it way faster and way easier, and now you want to buy into this person's cleanse, detox, workout program, what have you, because it looks easier and simpler than what it was that you've been doing, which honestly was quite hard. You could have been all in on this certain creative project, but then you get distracted around, or should I do this? Maybe this is a better idea. Maybe people will like this more. It's not to say that all of these detours are necessarily bad. I mean, Venus is in Sagittarius. These could be adventurous, spontaneous, fun detours. But it's important to keep your eye on the prize around what it is that you are building, what it is that you are moving towards. Because some of the detours, some of the opportunities and invitations that could come your way may be knocking you off course. Because with the square to Neptune, it's important to acknowledge that not all that glitters is gold. You might find that this other job description seemed much more enticing, so then you put energy there, and then you find out after some interviews, oh, this is not what I want at all. That was a little bit of a bait and switch. Or you might buy in on that person's detox cleanse program and realize that it doesn't actually lead to the results that you want with your body. You could derail the creative project that you were building momentum towards to put towards this other one, and then just get so distracted because you have so many ideas that you just get paralyzed with indecision. Not all that glitters is gold, especially with the square to Neptune. Not every detour is worth exploring, and not every invitation is worth saying yes to, particularly if there is something that comes your way that is reminiscent of a past adventure that you've gone on, or a past relationship you've had, a past financial mistake that you've already learned from. And I say that because on November 7th, Mercury enters its pre-retrograde shadow. And what that means is from the 7th onward, there may be some themes of the past. Maybe there's an element of deja vu when you allow yourself to get distracted from the promotion you're moving towards to look into this other job description, realizing that it's not exactly what you want. You're like, this is what I always do. This is why I'm not able to create forward momentum, because other things look brighter and prettier and shinier and newer, then I feel tempted to go down that path. Or in the health example, this is a tendency that I have around finding shortcuts from the hard work that don't actually get me to where it is that I want to go, or allowing my creative energy to be dispersed in so many different directions that I just get overwhelmed and give up. I've been here before. And so moving towards the end of the year, yes, with Mercury retrograde, we could absolutely hear from people of the past, but sometimes it's almost just being reminded of dynamics of the past. And with this energy of Mercury and Sagittarius opposing Jupiter and Gemini, it could be elements of the past coming back to see, have I learned the lesson? Because the lessons of our life will just repeat. It'll show up in different job descriptions. It will show up in shinier and prettier shortcuts. It'll show up in different creative projects until we are finally acknowledged and forced to confront, oh, this is a me thing. Sometimes the universe will test you to see how dedicated you are to this vision, to see how serious you are about changing your life, about evolving into new ways, to see how focused you are around not letting anything that looks prettier and shinier and sparklier and newer to throw you off course. Because with the energy of Neptune, shiny object syndrome is at a high. Just because it looks sparklier and shinier and because it's new does not mean that that is a worthy detour, worthy of your time and energy. Sometimes sticking the course, particularly if it's one that's arduous, right, with Sun, trine, Saturn, particularly if it's one that takes focus and discipline and commitment, it's a lot less sexier. It's a lot less alluring than these beckoning invitations and these easy solutions and these promises of a fun adventure. So this week, it's super important to not get distracted. I'm not saying you can't go on an adventure. I'm not saying you can't have fun. You know, Venus squaring Neptune over the weekend. Some of you could have some really romantic dates, some really adventurous experiences, some really soulful retreats or escapes into something that's bigger than yourself. But ultimately, keep your eye on the prize. That is the ask when it comes to this week's astrology. So as always, we will dive so much deeper into it, both from a thematic lens as well as to a day-by-day lens. But before we do, take a step inside my cosmic cafe, my loves. What are you sipping on to start this week? You know, when we have Neptune energy alive in the cosmos, sometimes we could be a little bit sleepier, a little bit more distracted. I know that was certainly the case for me this morning, so I made a hammerhead, which I'll describe in a moment. Let me know if where it is that you're at, if you guys have a different name for it. I've heard this drink also be called a red eye. I call it a hammerhead because that's what it was called when I was a barista at the shop that I worked at. But essentially it's just coffee with a shot of espresso. And obviously you could do it hot. But I did mine iced today with this Chobani cookie dough creamer that honestly should be illegal because it is way too good. It is way too addictive. It was on sale at Ralph's for $4, so I bought it, and now I fear that I won't be able to get out of Ralph's without buying it every single time because it is so freaking good. Typically, I just put almond milk in my coffee, but sometimes it's just so fun having something a little sweet within your drink. So let me know what you are sipping on to start your week. And with this week's Sun, trine, Saturn aspect, a lot of us are going to feel more naturally inclined to envision our dreams for the future, to contemplate what it is that we are building and moving towards, to consider what versions of us we aspire to embody. And with a new year on the horizon, you may be starting to brainstorm what you want to bring into fruition within this next year. Because spoiler alert, the astrology for 2025 is a doozy. There are a lot of planetary shakeups and changes. We have nearly all of the outer planets in new territories of the sky, which signals a brand new chapter, a brand new start, a brand new arena of our chart that will be activated. And so if you're seeking to get a leg up on the year ahead by figuring out what themes will be emphasized and how it is that you can work with those themes to set your 2025 visions and intentions, I deeply recommend heading over to astrology.com to get your customized 2025 horoscope report. So this is a premium annual reading that takes your chart, your celestial blueprint, and gives you an organized report of what exactly is in store for you within this next year. For me, when I got my report, it got me so excited for the next year and really got my creative juices flowing around how it is that I want to take advantage of these shifts, how it is that I want to co-create with these cosmic alignments, how it is that I want to grab hold of the major aspects or full moons that my report detailed will be significant for my chart. I'm a Virgo moon and rising, so you guys know I'm big on organization, and I really appreciated that within astrology.com's 2025 horoscope report that it was neatly organized into the various life arenas. So personal life, finances, health, love for singles, love for couples, financial outlook, money-making secrets. Everything was neatly organized with the cosmic energies of what will come up within these different territories of my life, which I really appreciated. I love how it highlighted aspects that will be the most influential for these arenas of my life, and furthermore, how I can work with them. You guys know how I'm big on co-creative astrology, and it helped me plan for the next year, just seeing which portions of the year will be the most aligned for what. It helped me contemplate my Q1, my Q2, my Q3, and my Q4 goals, because for me, I just feel like tuning in with the planets is a very smart way to plan. Can't spell planet without plan, right? Helping me get attuned to which arenas of my life will be the most optimal for me to focus on during the various transits, during these various shifts. So it got me really excited around what's aligning for me and my chart within the year 2025. So if you are looking to dial into the cosmic energies to set your intentions, or just to be forewarned on what's on the horizon, I deeply recommend heading over to astrology.com to get your own customized 2025 horoscope report. I'll have the link within the description as well as within the pinned comment. Thank you so much, astrology.com, for sponsoring this week's Magic Monday. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into vibe check of the week. So allow me to take you on a journey through this week's astrology, told through the lens of a hypothetical scenario, so that you can tune into the real life applications of this astrology. So you may be able to relate or resonate to certain elements of the vibe check and be able to then tune into what may come up as you step into your week, what you may feel, what themes and dynamics may be alive within your world or alive within those around you. I'm not saying that this exact situation will play out, but tune into the vibe. So this week's astrology feels like this week's astrology feels like getting distracted. And I will add additional nuance here. Feel free to fill in and swap out whatever details align personally for your world. But we will say within this week's vibe check that you are an aspiring music photographer. And to say that you're an aspiring music photographer isn't even doing yourself justice, because you are doing it. You have been able to collaborate with local venues in town. You've even photographed the cover for a local band who went on to blow up, and they've been in this festival circuit, and a lot more eyeballs are looking at their album and thus your photography on their album. So there has been these successes, but when you look back at the past couple of years, it's been very start-stop. Like there's been times of your life in which you're very dedicated and you're moving towards it and you're networking and you're putting yourself out there. And then there's been times of your life in which you're coasting a little bit. And when you get real with yourself, because it's Scorpio season, we're all getting real with ourselves, we're going deep. And you ask yourself, why has it been so start-stop? Why haven't I implemented all of the ideas that I've generated over these past couple of years? Why have I not followed up with this lead? Why have I not reached out to this venue? Why have I not reached out to this particular band? When you get real with yourself and contemplate why. Of course, there's valid excuses. This is not paying your bills quite yet, so you are doing this in addition to your day job, which of course takes a lot of your time and energy. But when you get really, really real with yourself, the biggest thing that has derailed you from your focus on building your career is your romantic relationships. Because you have this passion for photographing musicians. Nothing enlivens you more than being able to capture these electric, raw moments at a show, at a concert, being able to capture the energy of a show. That is your professional passion, is capturing musicians with your photography. But the problem is that you also have this romantic passion for not just photographing musicians, but also being with them. It just so happens that you've got a type and it tends to be musicians. And of course, because this is your industry, you meet quite a lot of them. And technically you're colleagues, right? There's not really like a power dynamic. You're not being explicitly hired by these musicians themselves. It's typically the management or the venue or the record label or what have you. So it's not that it's necessarily an ethical concern, but it is a focus concern. Because when you look at the past couple of years, when you're like, I've been doing this for 6 years and I still don't have long-term contracts. So I've been doing this for 6 years and I still have not expanded beyond my city. When you get real with yourself and you look at the past couple of years and you look at the gaps around, oh, I didn't book any jobs in 2019. Oh, the first portion of 2021, I just booked 2 shows. Like when you look at these slowdowns and compare it to your dating life, you see that every time that you get involved within a relationship, your creative output goes way down. And are there parts of that that are completely understandable? Yes, there's always going to be that honeymoon phase when you're first dating someone, you just want to spend all your time with them, and so you're maybe booking less shows. But it's concerning you when you look back that every time you get in a new relationship, your creative aspirations completely take the back burner. And the person that you're dating, you start orbiting around their creative expression, their musical ambitions. You start photographing purely for them, not for money, just for free, just to be a supportive partner. You start saying no to gigs that would require you to be away from this person. There's been jealousy issues that has come up within the people that you've dated around not wanting you to shoot other musicians in town or things of that nature. And it's a concerning habit for you because you know it's possible to have a world in which you have a thriving business and a successful love life, but when you look at the past couple of years, they just have not been able to exist at the same time. And so you decide it's time for me to go boy sober. Relationship sober, whatever it is that you want to call it. Last week we talked about going sober. This week it's all about going boy sober. Not that you need to swear off a relationship forever, but you just need to get to a space in which you will not put yourself on the back burner, put your art on the back burner, put your creativity on the back burner. It's time to go all in on yourself and not get distracted. And so you make a promise to yourself. You had this really fiery, explosive breakup with a drummer in the local band. You decide that's it. No more getting distracted. I need to take all of this energy that I've used to pour into this person's career and this person's ambition, and I need to alchemize it and put it towards my own creativity and my own ambition. I need to prioritize my own creative output rather than allowing myself to be derailed every time I get swallowed up into a relationship. I need to go 6 months without dating anyone and just go all in within my business to see if I can really turn this into something lucrative, into something steady, and to grow as an artist. And maybe in this period of being relationship sober, being boy sober, I'll be able to figure out why I allow this to happen. Why whenever I get in a relationship, I stop prioritizing what it is that I'm passionate about and start orbiting around what it is that they're building. Maybe this time intentionally stepping away from relationships will help me get clear on the patterning within myself so that I can move forward being able to balance both and to really figure out the artist that I want to be, the photographer that I want to be. So you put your all into your work and into your business, and it's paying off. And it feels good to give it your all. It's helping you heal because you're just taking all of the drama and the heartache from the situation with the drummer, and you're just going all in towards business. You are booking shows every single night. You are hustling. You are networking. You are getting your name out there, and you're noticing it is paying off. It's slow and steady, but you do snag a contract for a local festival in town, which is one of the biggest contracts that you've snagged. You're so excited. And as you are photographing one of the bands, you happen to be a fan of this band, so there's part of you that's fangirling, but you're professional, you're in the zone, you're capturing, and there's a moment in which the guitarist locks eye contact with you as you're photographing, and you feel your heart pitter-patter, and you could feel the vibe, and you're like, oh no. Because this person happens to be exactly your type. Like, you like musicians, that's kind of a type of yours, but also this particular person, this particular style, this particular body type, this is the embodiment of your type. If you were to take your past 10 crushes and combine them into one person, it would be this person. And you can tell it's mutual. And you're like, oh no, not now, not now. I cannot afford to get swept up into something new. I've committed. I still have 4 months to go in this 6-month pack that I'm not dating anyone. Absolutely not, absolutely not, absolutely not. And you go to the official festival after party. You are not contracted to shoot photos here. You're just going to network with other people in your industry. and you see that musician that you had that intense eye contact with come right over to you. And part of you wants to run away because this temptation is so enticing that you don't know if you have the willpower to resist. And there's a devil on your shoulder telling you, you know, you made it 2 months, like that's not so bad. And what if you could build your own business while connecting with this person? And what if this is the only opportunity that you have to connect with this person? What if this is your soulmate? What if this? What if that? And part of you just feels tempted to just jump into this, just see where this adventure could take you, see where this love affair could take you. And as you guys are connecting and chatting, there is such a vibe, there is such chemistry, you feel so alive. And would it hurt so much if you just said yes to one date with this person? Would it hurt so much if you just drove out of town to catch their next show this one time? Would it derail you if you just kissed this person at this after party this one time? And as this musician asks for your number, you have this moment of clarity where you recognize that if you allow yourself to be swept into this, it's not that it's going to have these detrimental outcomes. I mean, who knows? We don't know enough about this musician to know all that. But you recognize that you will ultimately just let yourself down. Because you made a promise to yourself. You made a promise to yourself that for 6 months' time, that would not be your focus. That would not be your priority. Because you could talk yourself into and talk yourself out of just about anything, right? Especially with the square to Neptune. We can distort things and make them look different than they are around, well, it doesn't count because of this and it's just one time. Like we can kind of squint our eye and turn sideways and make it look something different. Certainly, there's lots of details that we can make murky, but one detail that is not murky is that you made a promise to yourself. And if you allow yourself to get entangled with this person, you would be going back on your word that you made to yourself. And you've had so much amazing momentum. This very festival is the biggest gig that you've landed that has only transpired because this has been your focus. And you've gone too far. You've worked too hard to get where it is that you are now to give up now. You need to see this through. And if this person is your soulmate, okay, the universe would not hand deliver your soulmate to you 2 months into you making a promise with the universe that you will not date. That's the thing. The universe will test you sometimes to see how serious you are around your resolve, to see how serious you are around evolving past old patterns to transforming beyond where you've been before. And so the universe was giving you, via this musician, this test to see, are you going to allow yourself to be swept away within this person's ambition, within this person's charm, to make this person the center of your world, and to allow your own career to be sidestepped yet again? Or are you finally just going to choose yourself? You're going to keep it cute, keep it professional, and keep your eye on the target, using this after party rather than flirting with Mr. Qatar, networking like you are here to do, because you are here to work, because you owe it to yourself to go all in on your dream. So why does this scenario feel like this week's astrology? So that very energy around alchemizing the breakup with the drummer and putting it towards your own business and your own visions is the story of the earlier part of this week. Last week, we had Mars opposite Pluto, and it happened on Sunday. And because Mars is relatively slow inner planet speaking, we will absolutely still feel that tension of Mars opposite Pluto earlier in this week, which is the energy of the fiery breakup with the drummer, right? Having a lot of passion, having a lot of anger, having a lot of rage towards this particular relationship. There's also an element of grieving what your energy could have gone to, grieving who you could have been had you gone all in on your business sooner. Like there were so many times that you photographed this drummer for free and they never credited you. There's an energy around grieving what your energy could have gone to, what your time could have gone to, not just in this relationship, but really looking at the larger patterns that you've exhibited over the last couple of years. And so with Mars opposite Pluto, it's almost this energy to a higher level around wanting to alchemize, call our energy back. Rather than stooping to this drummer's level and trying to get a rise out of them or trying to make them jealous, you decide to take all of that fuel of the intense rage that this breakup has brought to the surface and you put it fully into your art, into your creativity, into your business. Rather than getting revenge in a petty way and being bitter, you decide to be better. You decide to go all in on your business so that you can grow your photography to such a level that your drummer X one day will be begging for you to shoot their show, but you won't because you're so booked and busy and working with way bigger acts. Again, it's not about that person, but sometimes it's just helpful fuel in order to move towards our own visions and dreams, which is represented represented by the Scorpio sun trining Saturn in Pisces, as well as just throwing yourself completely into work. You know, the energy of Scorpio, it's all in energy. It's plunging intensely towards something. And it's not to say we're all going all in on work this week. Maybe you're going all in on healing. Maybe you're going all in on a creative passion. Maybe you're going all in on learning a new skill. Maybe you're going all in when it comes to creativity. But there's an energy around taking all of the frustrations within your life, all of the betrayal for some of you, all of the hurt and the pain, and using it as fuel around, I'm going to use this as motivation to level the hell up within my life, around my ambitions, to build something that I'm proud of, with the energy of the Scorpio sun trining Saturn in Pisces. And with Mercury entering its pre-retrograde shadow on the 7th, this is the energy around seeing that musician who is very reminiscent of people that you have known before, people that you have dated before. And while this person is the embodiment of your type, and there's so much chemistry and there's such a pull there, there's also this contemplation around what it is that I'm naturally drawn to isn't necessarily what is best for me. And I have learned this lesson just with different instruments and different faces. Over and over and over again. Am I going to learn it this time? It's not to say that you need to swear off musicians altogether, but this person reminds you of your past 10 crushes, your past 10 exes, all wrapped up into one. Even their mannerisms, even just the way that they're interacting with you. And you know how those have ended. You know what you've learned from those. And so in some ways, that could be the universe testing you. You know, it's not to say with Mercury shadow period or with Mercury retrograde at large that all of us necessarily hear from people from our past, but sometimes we are reminded of people from our past. Sometimes we are dreaming of people from our past. Sometimes there's just a nostalgia around lessons from the past and if we've completely absorbed them and integrated them. And this person is the representation of that. And the very invitation from this guitarist who wants you to meet up with them in the next city of their next show and photograph for them. Like, it's a tempting offer. This person is tempting. You're very drawn to them. It seems adventurous. It seems fun, right? Venus in Sagittarius squared Neptune in Pisces. Sometimes when we're in hustle, grind mode, it's not always the sexiest. It's not always the most fun. And taking a couple days off to go to the show and explore this connection with this person. What's the harm in that? What's the harm in that? That's the very nature of Venus square Neptune, which can be a bit like a maze where it's like, well, I'm just going to enter a little bit, but then we get a little lost, right? The very nature of Neptune is to dissolve, is to absorb. And sometimes it's so lovely to get swept away in an adventure, in a person, in an experience. But if there is a desire around, I have a tendency to get enmeshed with the person that I'm dating. I have a tendency to lose myself within situations like this. I have a tendency to delude myself and distract myself from what it is that I'm trying to build. And I want to get clear on this pattern. So I need to say no to this particular offer in order to signal to the universe that I'm learning my lesson, that I'm going all in on myself. So it's not to say that all of us are going to get this tempting invitation from this cute guitarist. I mean, someone out there may. Please comment below if it's you. You never know. But we may have this temptation to backtrack a bit. And that's not going to look like musicians for all of us. For some of us, it could just mean, well, I'll just start my novel next week, procrastinating. Or I said I wouldn't drink, but it's my best friend's birthday, so I need to drink this one time. And then I swear I'll get back on track tomorrow. I'll get sober tomorrow. Or I was going to research to figure out how to start this business of this idea that's been building within me, but then I get overwhelmed because there's so much information that I just want to escape and run from it altogether. Distractions come in many different forms. Temptation comes in many different forms. And whichever form it's coming for you this weekend, it is there. And some of us, it might be a detour worth taking. It might be adventurous. Maybe you learn something by saying yes to this guitarist's invitation, by going to this other city and photographing their show. Maybe you get a great story out of it. Maybe you take great photos. But it's so important, whether you say yes or say no, that you keep your eye on the prize. Your future self needs you to. So we'll go ahead and take it into our day-by-day analysis. I do want to let you know that I am located on the West Coast of the United States. So I utilize PST, Pacific Standard Time Zone. Please adjust to your local time zone, as many of the energies that I discuss may land at a different time and even on a different day than when you will experience it and where you will experience it. I also have timestamps below where you're able to jump to a particular day or jump back to a particular day. So I also just want to mention here that you can tell that my coffee this week was really good because it didn't even make it to vibe check. Like, you might have noticed at the very very beginning of Vibe Check, it was pretty much gone. That is because it's absolutely delightful. And honestly, Chobani cookie dough creamer might be my Venus square Neptune distraction. That might be my Venus square Neptune temptation, is me at Ralph's trying to avoid the Chobani cookie dough creamer because, wow, it's good. Wow, it's good. But let's go ahead and get into the astrology for Monday, November 4th. If you watch Magic Monday pretty regularly, you may know that oftentimes the circumstances that I'm filming Magic Monday within are oftentimes reflecting the astrology that we're navigating. And it's so funny because this week's astrology is all around being distracted, allowing ourselves to take our eyes off the prize. And the amount of times that I've been distracted throughout the course of filming this gosh darn video, all I'm saying this week is that focus and keeping your eye on the prize, keeping your arrow pointed at the target is going to be incredibly important. Because yeah, in between Vibe Check and shooting today's horoscope, all of a sudden I was like, I need M&Ms. Desperately. And I'd be lying if I said this was my first bag, okay? See, that's the problem with having creamer in my coffee, so that I just can't stop thinking about sugar. So let that be an acknowledgement within itself. A, not to get distracted. B, M&Ms are great, but that's not the point. And C, sometimes indulging just a little bit, it makes you want more and want more, right? Like it wasn't enough to have the sugary Chobani cookie dough creamer. Now I'm on a sugar rush where I had to go get M&Ms and get more and more and more. Like that's the very nature of Neptune, is that it seduces, it entices, it blurs boundaries, it melts together. And you know, Venus transiting a Jupiter ruled sign, there's definitely some energy of excess. So whether it's an excess of, you know, dating that derails you, excess of sugar that derails you, excess of spending that derails you. There's a huge temptation this week to get derailed. So eye on the prize, arrow on the target, M&Ms are finished, sugar rush is on. Let's talk about your Monday astrology. So at 9:36 a.m., the Scorpio sun will trine Saturn in Pisces. This was woven into your Scorpio new moon that we had on the first of the month. And the very nature of this new moon, of this aspect, is how it is that we can destroy in order to rebuild, to destruct in order to construct. Because the energy of Scorpio, it's all around renewal. It's all around transformation. But the energy of Saturn is how it is that we build forward. So there's this energy around having this extreme decision, right? No dating, no sugar, no drinking, in order to evolve our pathway forward, to keep our eye on the prize, in order to support our own evolution, where the version of me, the music photographer who shoots every so often so long as I'm not in a relationship, is over. I'm burning her down. She does not exist. Now there's a version of me that's coming alive where I am focused on my goals. I am my own priority. My creativity is my own priority. And is it a little dramatic? Is it a little extreme to say no dating at all for 6 months? Yes. But I know if I do not do something dramatic to break this cycle, I will just keep repeating. Just with different instruments, different people, different bands. And I'm over it. I deserve to go all in on myself. Because that's the energy of Scorpio. Is the powerful results that we get when we are fully devoted, when we are fully focused. And rather than you and your creativity getting your own devotion, your devotion was going to these people that you were dating and their careers and their art and their success. You would shoot so many photos of them. You would shoot so many photos of them because you were a loving partner and not make a fuss when you weren't credited, because in your mind, you guys were a team, you were merged. But now that you're coming out of not just the relationship with the drummer, but the past couple of relationships, you're like, what did I really get out of that? Not that everything in life needs to be transactional, like partnership is a real thing, but you completely lost yourself in that person, devoting yourself fully within it. And you recognize how powerful you would be if you put that devotion towards yourself, that you've leveraged your art form towards building up these people's careers. And you're like, I could have leveraged that energy towards my own. And I deserve to do that for myself. So 6 months, that's what I'm going to do. And your life may be beckoning you to make a similar decision within your life, to focus, to get real around your transformation, to dedicate yourself around every single morning I need to meditate, or I am making the decision to go to therapy in order to really do the work in order to evolve past these cycles. Because doing the work isn't sexy, and building a business isn't sexy, and healing isn't sexy, right? It can be very Saturnian. It's doing the work day in and day out. It's working those long nights, shooting these different shows and also showing up for your day job. It's saying no to things that seem enticing, that seem fun, because you know that it would derail you from what it is that you're wanting to build. It's committing yourself to meeting with your therapist once a week or doing meditation every single day because you recognize that these little efforts will pay off over time. There's an ask to really commit ourselves to our own evolution, and it doesn't happen overnight. Which is why when Venus square Neptune comes in over the weekend, or just to a broader sense in life, when something new and sparkly and a shortcut, an easier way to do it, or a tempting distraction comes in, we are more seduced, we are more enticed. Because with Saturnian sort of things, the results don't show up instantaneously. So we could be knocked off course by something that seems sparklier or newer or easier, rather than doing the work. And I have strong Saturn within my birth chart, so it might just be my strong Saturn speaking. But oftentimes, that magic that we're looking for, those results that we are looking for, it's in the work that we've been avoiding. So if you've been frustrated with yourself, like the protagonist, maybe not with music photography, around, I've had all of these ideas, why haven't I implemented them? Or why have I not brought this business to life? Or why have I not gotten to the root of why these patterns play out within my relationships? It's like there can be elements of feeling frustrated with ourselves, right? Around how we have not evolved or how we have not taken action in certain arenas within our life, which, like the protagonist, you likely have many valid reasons for that not transpiring. But at the end of the day, it just takes effort. With the energy of Sun trine Saturn, it takes focus, it takes persistence, and it takes effort. It takes deciding that you are worthy to put your energy towards this cause, devoting yourself towards this cause, and doing the work towards it. You can get what you want. So if you relate with the protagonist around being frustrated, around a lack of progress, so that you haven't started something that you really wanted to, or that you hoped that you would have navigated these particular issues of your life at an earlier point than you did, all it takes is the energy of Scorpio, getting really real with yourself around why it has not transpired at this point. You may have many valid reasons, like our protagonist. There have been real reasons why these things have not transpired within your world, but it's dedicating yourself to it. It's getting real on the reasoning, and it's dedicating around, this is what I desire. And particularly looking back through this lens of time and thinking, this is what I desired. What has been holding me back from putting my energy towards this? Is it self-sabotaging? Is it distractions? Is it doubting myself? Is it bad habits? Sometimes coming to terms with that helps our own evolution and helps us show up slowly and consistently towards our chosen aim. It's setting your eye on a target, deciding what you want, reverse engineering the steps necessary, and committing yourself towards those steps. Again, it's easier said than done, and Saturn energy makes us be disciplined. It makes us be committed. It makes us stay late when we're tired, and this is the 4th show that we've shot this week. But it also pays off in sweet ways where we get this amazing festival contract. Saturn does reward you, but it rewards you after time and persistence, and honestly, with the energy of Scorpio, dedication. And when it comes to Monday's astrology, there could be a lot of distractions. There could be a lot going on. The end of this year's astrology is funny, because we have Mercury retrograde and Mars retrograde. And what Mars retrograde means is that we really have to conserve our energy and be intentional with where we invest it around, I do not have the time to be dedicated towards my day job, towards shooting all of these extra shows and going on dates with this person or following this person's tour. I just simply don't have the hours of the day. Like, the energy of Mars retrograde really makes us get intentional around where we are investing our energy. And again, this is already alive because Mars is in its shadow period as well. And then adding to that, we have Mercury in its detriment. And so with the energy of Mercury in Sagittarius, we can see all of these beckoning adventures and horizons and things that look shiny and pretty and new and exciting. And so the best thing that you could do moving into the end of this year is just stay focused. Stay focused. It's not to say that you can't be lit up by life and excited, but if you say yes to everything that comes your way, you're going to feel more burnt out. If you try to explore every single detour, if you try to say yes to all of the plans, you're just going to feel more drained. It's important for you to really exert your mental, your physical, your spiritual energy intentionally. Okay, moving into the end of the year. And on Monday, we have the moon in Sagittarius all day long. So we're in the waxing crescent moon phase. And this is a moon phase that is about essentially implementation. Like, new moon is about envisioning Waxing crescent is around bringing those visions to life by taking action towards them and on them. And with Mercury entering its pre-retrograde shadow on Thursday, I want to let you know that the first portion this week is the last time in the year 2024 that we have new Mercury territory. And Mercury is a planet of communication, thought processes, intellect. So we like to see Mercury transiting new territories of the sky when it comes to new ideas, new visions, new projects. It's not to say that you need to launch them all by Wednesday. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that if there is something that you want to put out there into the world before the end of the year, put at least a little bit of energy towards it in the earlier portion of this week. We have a waxing crescent moon, which is supportive for building momentum, building visions forward, and we have Mercury in new territory, which is helpful around new conversations, new ideas, new projects. You do not need to complete them. Even just opening the Word document for the novel that you want to write, even just brainstorming the holiday specials that you want to launch on your business page, or enrolling in the certification that you want to get done before the end of the year. Just putting some energy towards it before Mercury enters territory that it will revisit. Because Mercury retrograde is honestly a great time to complete the incomplete, to wrap up things that have been ongoing, to refine and streamline existing projects if, and only if, we can stay focused on them, okay? Because the energy of Sagittarius, there's so much to see within this world. There's so many new experiences. There's so many new adventures. And so it could just be a battle as we navigate the end of the year around just focusing your energy. Because again, with Mars in its shadow period currently and soon to station retrograde, our energy is in high demand because the supply is going to feel a little bit lower. Okay, we just have a little bit less energy to expend, so we gotta expend it towards the right things. Monday's lunar story is that the Sagittarius moon opposes who it's answering to, which is Jupiter in Gemini, which again is all of the ideas, all of the conversations. You could be swept up into rhetoric online. You could be swept up into conversations at work. You could be distracted. Things could be pulling at your attention span. There could be interesting rabbit holes that you're getting into online. Your group chat could be blowing up. Like there could just be a lot going on. But again, know that we have Sun trine Saturn. So the more that you could just stay focused on what it is that you're doing. We did have Mars opposite Pluto yesterday, so that could be alive within you, and it could manifest within just feeling unsettled, feeling at ease, people trying to fight with you, people trying to compete with you. To me, it just feels like an ask to take any sort of unpleasant or unsavory energetic that you are feeling currently, alchemize it and put it into something helpful. Around there could be certain things that are making you feel anxious, that are making you feel not safe, that are making you feel even like triggered or reactive in some way. But there's an ask to kind of pull it in towards something productive. Maybe you're feeling a little anxious about Election Day tomorrow, if you're here in the US with me, or something of that nature. And rather than allowing yourself to kind of self-destruct around worrying around the worst case scenario, the ask with the Scorpio Sun trine Saturn is around, I'm super anxious about this, but I'm going to take all this energy and put it into this work project because I cannot control the bigger picture. All I can control is what is in front of me right now. This is also represented within the vibe check around essentially having this betrayal from this drummer. This pain, this frustration, this angst. And rather than being petty, rather than getting bitter, rather than trying to post up with somebody to make this person jealous, rather than feeling you had to go get a rebound right away to show this person you were a hot commodity, you're keeping your eye on the prize. Because those things are very short term, right? Like the amount of satisfaction that it takes when you are petty is a blip. It's a blip. Maybe it feels good for a moment to feel like you got your got back, to feel like you got your vengeance. It's short-lived. And with the energy of Scorpio Sun trine Saturn, it's playing the long game in a sense. Not that I'm saying that you should play games with people or that it's about the drama or anything of that nature, but it's just saying, what's going to be sweeter of revenge? Is it going to be if I post up with another drummer in a local band, right? Or would the sweetest revenge of all is going all in on my own photography until my drummer X is begging me to shoot their show, but I can't because I'm booked for my drummer X's favorite musician ever in the world. Like, wouldn't that just be wouldn't that be a sweeter revenge? You're playing the long game, right? But ultimately, it's also better for you around rather than just jumping into a rebound and jumping into distractions. You're choosing to do the work, which is hard. Choosing to do the healing work rather than jumping into another relationship and distracting yourself from the pain that this last one did. You decide, I'm going to be on my own. I'm going to put my all into work. I'm going to put my all into my creativity. I'm going to heal. I'm going to do so privately. And that will work out within the long term of my world. That will pay off. It'll take time, as all things do with Saturn energy, but it will pay off. And this is reflected within Monday's astrology as well. You know, something that's nice about the sky right now is that we have more fire. We went through a long period of time in which we barely had any fire in the cosmos, and now we have Moon, Mercury, and Venus all in Sagittarius. We have Mars in Leo. The energy of fire is around creativity. It's around passion, but it can be around, you know, where it is that we are fired up. And like I said, Mars opposite Pluto is still separating. And this could be an energy around getting fired up about a certain cause where people are suffering or people are disenfranchised in some way. You might feel tempted to go off on some sort of Twitter rant or to educate the group chat if somebody says something insensitive. Like there could be certain things that we are feeling fired up about, rightfully so, potentially, with the energy of Sagittarius, like really anchored within our own morals and values and how we think things should be. And maybe that's healing to even validate within ourselves. This could also just be an energy around investing energy towards what is healing for you, honoring your own truth, honoring what's important to you. And by 3:51 p.m., you may find that you are in the mood to enjoy life, to adventure, to explore. We have the Sagittarius moon aligning with the Venus. So this is the energy around wanting to go on a long walk after work, or wanting to say yes to an art gallery after work, or wanting to get lost in a book after work, or learn a new recipe after work. Like the energy of moon aligning with Venus is really wanting to dial into the sweet things of life. Maybe that's why I went in on the coffee creamer and the M&Ms. Who knows? Venus governs sugar and anything sweet in life. But with the energy of Moon Venus, we're particularly wanting to align ourselves to things that feel freeing and wild and expansive and soulful. Maybe there are people who have you messed up. Listen, with Mars opposite Pluto, there might have been people who cut you off or people who were in your replies after you went on your Twitter rant or something of that nature. And the energy of Moon Venus is tuning into the big picture. What really matters, what gives your soul a sense of meaning and faith. You know, with the energy of Mars opposite Pluto, sometimes whether it's directly within our world or indirectly within our larger sphere, there just could be an energy around having to come face to face with that kind of the darker shadow side of humanity, around how ugly humans could be, especially with Mars energy, like kind of their base level motivations, like greed and violence and conflict. This would be the energy within the vibe check around coming face to face with this betrayal from this drummer and having to consider, wow, there's really people out there who will take advantage of you. Like this, someone who I cared about so deeply, who just basically leveraged me as a free photographer and didn't even credit me, and then ended up doing me so dirty throughout the course of this relationship. With the energy of Mars opposite Pluto, could be really contemplating the ugliness of this experience, but the energy of Moon Venus is reconnecting to the beauty of the big picture. Like taking yourself on a solo date, taking yourself to nature, reading a book, listening to an album, something that returns you to the big picture around, yes, there is ugliness within this world, but there is beauty within it as well. And that's where I think the energy of Sagittarius is so beautiful, because it comes right after Scorpio, and Scorpio is around what's beneath the surface, right? Getting to the core. And Sagittarius falls right after it. So it's not that the energy of Sagittarius is delusional, that it's not recognizing the darker underbelly of the grittiness of this world. Sagittarius has a deep recognition of that coming right after Scorpio, but it's this energy around understanding the darkness that this world has makes this sign so much more motivated to seek out the light, to seek out the hope, to seek out the faith, to feeling devoted to finding that, to not let the grittiness of this world win out at the end. I've been rereading, gosh, I talked about this last year, so I'm so sorry if I sound like a broken record, but I've been rereading The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. I also read it last year. I talked about it last year in Magic Monday. I apologize. Blame it on my ruler entering its pre-retrograde shadow later this week. Okay, maybe I'm reminiscing, who knows? But I was inspired because in our recent self-care astrology group class, Jess was the group speaker and taught us so much about progressions. It was such a fascinating class. But the chart that she leveraged in order to illuminate progressions was the legendary Miss Britney Spears. So it inspired me to revisit her memoir, particularly looking at it through the lens of progressions. And it was fascinating to see how it lined up. But I bring it up because in revisiting the text, I'm just in awe. Like, she's a Sagittarius, and I just feel like that book is such a testament to the unique quality of Sagittarius optimism, which is finding a sliver of light, a silver lining, even in the bleakest and the most challenging of places. She had her freedom completely taken away and was completely taken advantage of by the people who were meant to support her and be there for her. And she still has these moments within the memoir of having hope, of having faith, of seeing the beauty in humanity, of seeing the beauty in life altogether. And that is the quality of Sagittarius, is not letting the darker forces of this world win out, to intentionally seek out the light, intentionally seek out the hope, intentionally seek out the optimism. And on the Brittany note, just in case anyone was curious what the B on my hat stands for, in my mind, it stands for Brittany. That's why I bought it. But I think this is a B for Barbie. I was roller skating with my friend on the boardwalk one day and the sun was in my eyes and there was people selling hats on the boardwalk. So I just bought this hat. I was like, B for Brittany. And I went along with it. But yeah, I think it's for Barbie. But we're going to say here in the Cosmic Corner, we're going to say it's for Brittany. But essentially, Brittany talk aside, B hat aside, that evening, really important to intentionally look out for the love that's around you, the beauty that's around you, the hope that's around you, the faith that's around you. Even in the bleakest of times, it is available. And that is the unique brand of Sagittarius magic that we have access to with the moon, Mercury, and Venus all in Sag. So your horoscope for Tuesday, November 5th, you may wake up and be like, did I go somewhere last night? Because around 2 a.m., the Sagittarius moon squares Neptune in Pisces, which tends to enliven our dream space. Any sort of harsh Neptune aspect tends to do that. And it may be important to pay attention to your dreams this week, as we also have Venus square Neptune building over the weekend. So definitely could be a time that you wake up and are like, where the heck was I? Do you ever have that where you wake up and you have such a strong emotion within? Like you wake up with such a sadness and you have no reason to be sad. You just opened your eyes. Or you wake up feeling anxious. Maybe you remember themes of your dreams. Maybe elements of it were confusing and you were like, why was that celebrity in my dreams? Or why was I on such a mission to do this? Like you can find that there is some interesting dreamy energy alive. And it may start your Tuesday on a little bit of a confusing note, right? Staying in bed a little bit too long, thinking about what it was that you went through while you were asleep, where it was that you went while you were asleep. Maybe you stay in bed on your phone for too long. Maybe you oversleep. That's something to note about Neptune energy, is that it tends to make us a little bit sleepier. And so that could absolutely be alive with Tuesday as well as with this weekend. But regardless of however our Neptune fogginess is playing out, we should sort of snap into clarity around 7:17 a.m. PST, as that is the point that the moon will enter Capricorn. And the moon does not particularly like being in Capricorn. It is in its detriment here, because the energy of moon is really how it is that we feed ourselves, how it is that we nourish ourselves and our emotions. Whereas Capricorn is what it is that we build, what it is that we ascend to, what it is that we accomplish. And so we could find that we are seeking to nourish ourselves via our outward accomplishments and productivity, which is not always necessarily a bad thing. Like if there are certain things that you're feeling out of control over, there's intense emotions, there's anxieties brewing, there's uncertainty, there could be this energy with the moon in Capricorn to hone in on what it is that you do have control around. There's things within my life, I don't know where it's all going, but I can control whether or not I show up for this particular job and do the best that I possibly can. This was reflected within the vibe check around you going through something, right? You're going through this breakup, you got betrayed by the drummer. He played the drums and your heart, okay? And with the moon in Capricorn, you are temporarily distracting yourself from those intense emotions by throwing yourself into work, keeping yourself really busy. Because that's also why Capricorn moon is considered not dignified, because it can be an energy around restricting our emotions, not allowing ourselves to feel our emotions, maybe suppressing them under what it is that we have to do and always striving to be better or what have you, which absolutely can lead to detrimental consequences. But sometimes it can be helpful, especially when we're navigating Scorpio season, where things feel really deep and really intense around, I just need to be so zeroed in on this particular show and shooting the best photographs possible, because it provides me this temporary vacation from my emotions and the depth by which I feel them. Like with the energy of Scorpio season, sometimes it helps to completely throw yourself into something. But the difference is that it's constructive things that help you build forward, not just things that distract you from the pain. It's just deciding, I'm going to take a temporary vacation from the feels to focus on my work, and I'll take some time to recover and process after this last photograph is taken. Can sort of be the energy. Just be mindful not to be too hard on yourself. Scorpio sun, Capricorn moon. Try not to beat yourself up. This was also reflecting the vibe check around that energy of some regret, right? Around grieving who you could have been, Had you prioritized yourself? Grieving where you could have allocated your time and energy, being hard on yourself around those detours that you took. And again, while sometimes it could be helpful to revisit, what went wrong, what got me distracted, why haven't I taken action on these ideas and these visions, it's important to take the data and use it to build forward rather than to beat yourself up and tell yourself you're not good enough and that you're a loser and that you're lame and destroy yourself from the inside out. Just an energy around, I got a little distracted, but I learned lessons. That's the thing. We only waste time when we're not learning the lesson. So you deciding towards the end of the vibe check around, I'm not going to say yes to this invitation, as tempting as it is, because I'm finally learning the lesson that my creativity needs to come first for me to build the business of my dreams. Like, that makes all of those detours worth it because I've finally absorbed the lesson. And I wouldn't be able to be to the place in my business that I'm at had I not had those detours in order to learn this particular lesson, in order to learn and integrate this wisdom. So yes, there could be an energy around being hard on yourself around, I should be further here, I should be more healed, I should be more successful, what have you. But it's so important to leverage that as fuel, to keep going, keep showing up. So on Wednesday, November 6th, you have some productive, constructive energy in the morning time. Do keep in mind, this is the final day that we have new Mercury territory. So even if it's just having a conversation with a friend around, hey, I'm going to work on this particular novel, or even just pitching somebody that you may want to work with on an upcoming project, or even just journaling about the tarot deck that you want to make, like putting some energy towards new visions today may be helpful if you do want to build towards them or use the upcoming Mercury retrograde to refine them. It may be helpful. There's no rush, there's no panic, just putting it out there. And it's important to note that the reason we have this productive, constructive flow of energy, aka the Capricorn moon sextiling Saturn and Pisces, the Capricorn moon sextiling the Scorpio sun, these are sextiles, and sextiles are subtle. So it's not necessarily this overwhelming boost of feel-good, happy energies, especially when you consider the planets and signs that it's linking. It's not necessarily giving euphoria, but it can be this energy around a helpful flow of energy to work with and to direct in a particular way. Around recognizing, listen, it's season of the Scorpion, right? And Scorpio has that stinger. And it can be helpful to have that stinger kind of pointed out to the world. Not in a violent way where you're stinging people, but having that intensity focused towards something that you are building. Because a lot of times Scorpio can be a destructive energy if that stinger is towards your sucking, around just kind of self-destructing and ruminating and obsessing. So there can be an energy, especially with the moon also in detriment, around having certain visions and goals can help to kind of temper your internal landscape, putting your energy into creative projects, putting your energy towards things that you're passionate about, helping certain causes, things of that nature can help you move through it. It can also help you build some nice momentum. It just feels like a productive morning to have your goals of what it is that you want to accomplish, get them done. And it's important to set those parameters around where you will be satisfied. Around having a certain list maybe on Wednesday around, I'm going to handle these leads at work, I'm going to get a good workout, and I'm going to meal prep. And if I get those things done, I will consider it a productive day and a job well done. Having those parameters, having those to-dos, having those goals, having those visions around what it is that you want to do with your time today, and deciding that is enough, or having those parameters around that will be considered a success. Because where we also get into tricky territory from a Capricorn moon perspective is this energy of moritis around, as soon as you get those things done, how can I do more? How can I accomplish more? How can I get more? How can I earn more? More. It's an endless loop. It's an endless cycle. And we see this with the Capricorn moon squaring Chiron in Aries around 9 p.m. on Wednesday, which sort of gives the energy around it's the end of the day and you got some things done, but you're beating yourself up around, I should have been more productive. I should have made more sales. I should have cleaned the house and meal prepped and done this and done that. I should have worked harder at the gym. Just beating yourself up. Like I said, we have to be so intentional with this powerful energy of Scorpio. It could be a creator using this devoted, obsessive energy towards building new dreams, building new realities, or it could be a destroyer using this obsessive energy to tell ourselves why we're not good enough and how we need to be doing more and achieving more and succeeding more. And the thing is, you have to be intentional around setting those parameters for yourself around, this is what's important to me to get done today, or this is what I want to prioritize, or I will give myself a pat on the back if I can accomplish these particular arenas. It's important to set those parameters because there will always be more. You could always be doing more. You could always be earning more. You could always be producing more. And that endless cycle will eat you alive from the inside out. It will never feel to be enough. That's why there's people out there who are so poor that all they have is money, because it never feels to be enough. Every new income level just brings a new range of possessions that are just out of their reach, and then they need to earn more. It's never enough. It will eat you from the inside out, this energy around it's never enough. And that can show up financially, never feel like we're earning enough. It could show up within our business, never feeling like we're doing enough. I know my fellow entrepreneurs feel me on that, around just the eternal business owner guilt around all of the things that you could be doing, should be doing. You got to be intentional around setting parameters. In the overall, yes, could I be hustling and grinding from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. and probably be 10 times more successful within my business? Absolutely. Is that the parameters by which I want to live my life and base my own success? No, because I don't base my success on how much money I'm bringing in. I don't base my success around how popular I am. Like, those are not the parameters by which I live my life. Like, obviously, gotta make money, okay? Girls gotta eat. I gotta buy this Chobani cookie dough creamer somehow, right? It's not gonna buy itself. Certainly, that's a factor within my life, as it is within many people's lives. But to me, the parameters by which I have set my own success is a life in which I get paid to be myself. Check. That's exactly what I do, is I get to just be myself and nerd out about astrology from beginning to night. And then I get to be creative and I get to have fun. I probably could be making more money. I probably could be more popular. I probably could be more successful. But to me, the visions, the parameters by which I define success is a life in which I get paid to be myself, and a life in which I get to be creative, and which I get to have fun. And why it's so important to define those parameters by which you define success. Maybe that's time with your kiddos. Maybe that's time to spend time in nature. Maybe that's time to create. Maybe that's time to build your own farm. Whatever those parameters are for success for you, it's important to define them, because it makes you so much less able to get manipulated. Because when you are basing your metrics of success off society's metrics of success around needing to be incredibly wealthy and needing to live a certain lifestyle and have a certain family or do certain things that aren't true to yourself, it makes you more tempted to go down paths that are not for you, right? Because those are not your metrics of success. And you could find with Venus square Neptune that it just leads you to this maze in which it's never enough, because you're seeking to achieve other people's metrics of success, and you feel more and more distant from yourself. And it also makes you more susceptible to be manipulated by other people around being sold get-rich-quick schemes, or being sold other lifestyles of what looks good on the outside, rather than just basing it on what's important to me. And how can I build what's important to me? Because you will never feel like you are earning enough, doing enough, producing enough for the outer world to validate you. You've got to learn to validate yourself, and that means getting clear on how it is that you envision success, and not allowing other people and what's told to you to derail you from that. And so the energy of the Capricorn moon squaring Chiron is just an invitation to define your own metrics of success. Because if you allow other people to decide them for you, or you allow society to define them for you, it'll never feel to be enough. It'll never feel to be enough money, enough success, enough stuff, enough prestige, enough fame. It'll never be enough. It's endless. And you will feel with the square to Chiron that there's something wrong with you, that you are doing something wrong. The only thing that you are doing wrong is basing what you define as success off metrics that are not true to you and your path. So on Thursday, November 7th, the first thing that I want to let you know is that Mercury does enter its pre-retrograde shadow today. So this is yellow light energy. It's not to say that it's like red light, like Mercury retrograde, like try not to sign contracts, try not to start new things, try not to rush. It's yellow light. You kind of got to discern whether you're going to hit the gas and go for it, or whether you're going to slow down. You gotta get a read on it, and let me know. Are you someone, when it's yellow light, do you tend to speed up and go faster, or do you tend to slow down and stop? I feel like for most of us, it's situational, right? It's a vibe thing, it's a time thing, it's a situation thing. But moving from Thursday onward, I just want you to have a little bit of caution around mercurial matters. So if you're going to send over an important document for work, take the beat to double check it. Take the beat to reread it. This Mercury retrograde is going to be tricky because Mercury is in its detriment of Sagittarius. The energy of Sagittarius is very big picture. So you might have worked hard on this document for work. You did the research, you did the charts, you did the graph. You have a great compelling debate around the policy and how it needs changing at your workplace. So tuned into the big picture, to the forest, that you're not so tuned into the details, to the trees. Like on the very front page of the document, rather than saying the policy of the workplace, it accidentally says the policy of the work farce. How did that happen? Who knows? And the energy of Sagittarius is tuning into the big picture. Right now it's fine, and sending it away. Take a beat, double check. I would also deeply recommend double check all of your travel plans. Mercury will station retrograde a couple days before Thanksgiving here in the US, which I know a lot of people do travel for. So double check. Double check that you booked for the right airport, double check the times, give yourself a nice cushion of time to get anywhere, whether it's traveling or beyond. This is not a time to push your luck, right? Sagittarius is very optimistic, so it's like, I can get there in 10 minutes. Can you? Can you really? I don't think you can. So give yourself 15. Just give yourself a nice little cushion. See where it is that you can laugh at life. There might be things that go wrong. There might be miscommunications. There might be technical difficulties. You may find that you're more inclined to think of the past. You know, a very helpful way that you can leverage this Mercury retrograde is taking a beat. From adding new and adding more on your plate to really hone your focus on the big picture of your life with Mercury in its pre-retrograde shadow in the sign Sagittarius and what lights you up with Mars in its pre-retrograde shadow in the sign Leo. And sometimes we have to take a beat from the day-to-day grind in order to take a step back and be like, what makes me happy? What am I moving towards? What are my visions? Because again, within the vibe check, you didn't even notice that you would get so derailed from your own creative output, from your own photography business, because you were so enmeshed with this person, where it just became your lifestyle, where it's like, of course, I'm going to shoot your show for you, where of course I'm going to travel to their city with you, and of course I'm going to take photos for your show for free, and of course I'm going to stay in this weekend so we could spend time because your work schedule is so bizarre. Like a lot of times we don't see the big picture of what's happening within our life until we slow down, until we take a step back and we recognize, I've been at this for 6 years. Why haven't I gotten further? And again, it's not that you need to beat yourself up about it, but it's just this energy around taking a step back and contemplating, seeing the forest and not just the trees of the day-to-day. Taking a step back, seeing the forest around, what am I building towards? What am I creating? Like, what do I want out of this life? What is my vision? Because if you do not define your vision for yourself, you will help other people in building theirs. You need to be intentional around creating what it is that you want, the metrics of success that you want, the parameters of success that you want, your perfect day, or else you will help other people in building theirs. And it's not to say that everybody needs to be self-employed. That's not everybody's dream, but it is this energy around defining, these are my values, this is what I want, and defining that and building towards that. Because if you do not define that, you'll be in this almost reactive lens of life around just dealing with things as they come up and not contemplating where it is that you're going. A lot of times we don't know exactly where we're going, right? But it's allowing what is important to us, what has meaning to us, what has value to us to lead. And having these pauses from the day-to-day grind to contemplate, what do I want to create big picture? What do I want to feel big picture? What do I want to move towards big picture? So like I said, within the first portion of Thursday, we'll have that Scorpio Sun, Capricorn Moon combo. The moon does change signs around 2:30, but before it does, the Capricorn Moon will trine Uranus and sextile Neptune. So this could be a nice like creative flow of energy, artistic flow of energy, innovative flow of energy. You may have some anxiety, nervousness, fear of the future around 2:38 p.m. when the Capricorn Moon aligns with Pluto in Capricorn. We do not have control over the big picture things of life. There just could be an energy around finding a semblance of control over your tasks, over your work, over your career, over getting things done. Again, a gift of Pluto energy is about transmutation, or being able to turn energy from one thing into something else, where it's like, I'm really nervous about this, and I'm going to take all this nervous energy and put it into this photo shoot. Or I'm feeling really uncomfortable and uncertain because I haven't received these test results of something that I'm nervous about, but rather than obsess about that, I'm going to turn that energy into fuel to detangle my necklaces that somehow got into a clump last time I was traveling. Again, the actual thing that you transmute it into doesn't necessarily matter, but it just can be this energy around even unsavory emotions, even anger, frustration, jealousy can be fuel. You can turn it into something else. You can alchemize it into something else. So there might be an opportunity to do just that on Thursday. The moon is void for about 20 minutes until it enters Aquarius at 2:58 p.m., which draws our awareness to our community, to our our friendships, and it will oppose Mars in Leo at 5:15 p.m. And I'm giggling because listen, I love Aquarius energy, okay? I have prominent Aquarius placements. But here's the thing that gets me about how we talk about Aquarius within the astrology community is that so often people talk about Aquarius around they're so open-minded. And yes, they are. But at the end of the day, Aquarius is a fixed air sign. Fixed is around consistency, air is around our thoughts and our ideas. Once Aquarius has made up their minds about something, they are solid. They are rigid within that way of being. So yes, they're open-minded, they're not judgmental, but they're certainly not open-minded to things that they have made their mind up about. Then their mind is pretty closed, honestly. Why that might impact your Thursday is because with the Aquarius moon opposite Mars in Leo, there can be some tension, some pride, some God complex sort of energy. You know, something that's alive with Sagittarius energy and an Aquarius moon is that people might be trying to debate you. Like I said, we've got Mars opposing Pluto. People might be trying to fight you. Pick your battles is really what I want to say here, and know that you don't necessarily need to prove your point in order to be at peace. Okay, is what I would say. Because Thursday might be a little tense. You know, we could butt heads with other people. We could let pride get in the way. We could let stubbornness get in the way. These are two fixed signs. So just be intentional around that. Not every battle is worth you getting involved in. Not every point is worth proving. Not every fight is worth winning. So on Friday, November 8th, yes, people might have been trying to fight with us, debate with us, argue with us, right? With the energy of Aquarius moon opposite Mars the night prior, even if this was very innocuous around our partner needing to prove a point that we always leave the cabinets open, or your friend driving home the point that they told you so, they were right about something. Like again, with moon opposite Mars, there can be a little bit of tense energy on Thursday, but Friday is kind of giving the energy around let's work it out on the remix, right? Because we have the Aquarius moon sextile Mercury in Sagittarius. Again, sextiles are soft loaves of energy, but there's an energy around being able to vocalize how we feel about something and perhaps feel heard around something. Also could be helpful for writing, it could be helpful for communicating, it could be helpful for brainstorming, and it could also be helpful for clarifying how it is that you really feel about something, or being able to put words to an emotion that you hadn't been able to define. It could be in the morning time reading a Bible verse, reading a portion of your book, having a meditation. It just feels like food for your soul, food for your mind, something of that nature. You could potentially learn something new, even if it's just inspired by you. You know, Aquarius moon tends to be an energy that can just get ensnared into random corners of the internet, or just assemble random fun facts about things. So sometimes when you allow yourself to ask questions around, I wonder why this is like this, or I wonder where this got its name, sometimes that can lead you on an interesting quest to learn something new. Perhaps you go on that on Friday. I would be cautious around that simply because tomorrow we have Venus square Neptune building, and Neptune energy tends to kind of blend into the surrounding days, so you might already feel this Neptunian haze building. And so we could lose track of time, we could lose track of hours, we could lose track of work, we could lose track of focus. Like the energy of Neptune, we could just be in la la dreamland, which is not a bad place to be. Like I'm a resident there personally as a Pisces. I find that Friday is not the most productive. You keep getting ensnared in these random rabbit holes on the internet, or maybe you're daydreaming about your crush, right? You're researching different things that you want to buy. You know, Venus square Neptune can also have detrimental effects for our finances as well. You can be getting a little lost. You know, square to Neptune is a little bit of down the rabbit hole energy, and things can get a little murky, they can get a little confusing. You also can be feeling the strong call to escape. Like on Friday night, you could be really wanting to escape, particularly since we have the first quarter moon, and this is the first crisis point of the lunar phase. So it tends to be this time in which things come to a head. Like it's all well and nice when we are setting intentions, right? When we're planting our Scorpio new moon visions around, this is what I want to call in, and this is the new habit that I'm encouraging, and this is the bad habit that I'm letting go of. Like when we make that decision around 6 months, no dating. At first, it's all hee-haw. I don't know where that came from. At first, it's all hee-haw. Do you get what I mean? At first, it's all, I really can't think of another way to describe it than yee-haw. There's gotta be a better way to describe it than yee-haw. There's got to be a better way to describe it. See, I do need to warn you guys, I'm Mercury ruled, so with my ruler entering its pre-retrograde shadow, things might get a little silly. Here in the cosmic corner, I might lose track of certain words or certain phrases. We're just gonna go with yeehaw. When we first make a decision or we set an intention or we set a goal, it's all yeehaw at first, right? It's all excited and we're all feeling good about this transformation, but it gets a little bit more challenging when we have that first temptation or we have that first hard point, right? We cut out sugar and now we are wanting M&Ms, right? We're having that deep craving for M&Ms. It was all well and good when we were envisioning, yeah, no sugar, I'm gonna feel so good, but now the M&Ms are literally staring at us and beckoning to us. It gets a little bit more challenging. It's all yeehaw when we decide not to date and we're feeling so motivated and excited to build our business. Much harder when you're face to face with someone who is the embodiment of your type. It's all yeehaw when you decide I'm not going to drink, but then when you're at dinner with all your friends and everybody else gets wine and you want wine as well, it gets a lot more challenging because it gets real, right? The temptation gets real. And it's a choice point when we have a first quarter moon around, are we going to choose a novel way of being since it's an Aquarius moon, or are we going to stay in the rut that we were before? And so there could be a choice point that's aligning for you, Friday nights around, am I going to do things in a new way? Am I going to really commit to this vision even when it gets hard, even when there's temptation? Or am I going to take a step backwards? And I'm not saying that everybody needs to live in extremes and that everybody should say no to the guitarist. Like again, it's case by case. You are the pilot of your soul. You're gonna have to discern what's best for you. But what I will say is that there can be some uncomfortable emotions stirring. It could be a choice point. It could be this now or never energy. It could be this desire to break free from something that feels restrictive, from something that feels like it's trying to control you or tell you how to be or tell you how to live. That could be alive that evening. And again, with the Venus square Neptune energy, you could want to just check out from these uncomfortable emotions and from life altogether. Like you could just be like, can I turn my phone off this weekend and just watch music videos the entire time? Can I just go on a trip? Can I just book a random Airbnb in a different city and just escape my life? Can I just get lost in a novel? You might just want to turn life off and go on some sort of detour where there's nothing wrong with a detour with an adventure every so often, but really tune into why you are craving this distraction, because the ultimate goal is creating a life that you do not have to escape from, right? So are there elements of this detour, right? This adventure, this guitarist asking you, hey, do you want to come with us to our next show? It's in this other city. I would love to see you there. I'd love for you to be able to enjoy our show without having to photograph it. Like, are there elements of that feel exciting? It's the disruption from the norm. You've been working so hard lately. Does that feel tempting? Absolutely. But you can also recognize that while that escape seems tempting, your time may be better spent staying in town, doing the contracts that you have booked, right? Shooting the shows that you have booked and building towards your ultimate freedom, which is being able to do this for work. And so you won't have to escape from your life and escape from the stress altogether. We talked about this a lot last week, this difference between short-term freedom and long-term freedom around within the short term, it seems a lot more immediately gratifying to go to this new city with this cute guitarist and have an adventure and have fun. But in the long term, for me to build actual freedom for myself, which is being able to live my dream, like work towards my passion, have a life in which I don't need a day job, I can live off my creative expression, I recognize that staying in town this weekend and using my energy instead towards booking these shows, even though I'm tired, even though I'm drained, even though this is a sacrifice, is helping me move towards that big picture sensation of freedom. Because once I have that fun detour, it's right back to reality and I'll be in the same loop over and over again. Like the energy of the first quarter moon building Scorpio sun, Aquarius moon is really the energy around break the loop today or the pattern will continue tomorrow. Like that, like do I want it to be 6 more years of this start-stop within my photography because I keep getting distracted, I keep going on these detours and I'm not really focusing on what it is that I want to build. And it's not to say that all of us, this desire to escape comes through in the form of a trip or a lover or something of that nature. For a lot of us on Friday, there could just be this energy around just wanting to check out, just wanting a vacation from reality. Whether we find that through a bottle of wine, whether we find that through a documentary series, whether we find that through a video game. There could just be an energy around wanting to get lost in something that we love with the energy of Venus. Beware, because Neptune is not always good when it comes to boundaries and when it comes to when it is that we should stop, when the video games are going on for a little too long, when the wine bottle getting a little too empty. And if something feels good, we think it's going to continue feeling good every time we do it. If 1 hour of video games felt fun, 10 hours of video games should feel fun. If 1 bag of M&Ms tasted delicious, 10 bags of M&Ms should feel delicious. If that first glass of wine made us feel good, more glasses of wine should make us feel absolutely blissful and euphoric. But that's not how it works now, is it? It's not how it works. There are limits to everything, and Neptune's not so good at discerning those limits. So my best advice would just be to be mindful and to stop at 2 bags of fun size M&Ms. I made a mistake when I went for the 3rd bag. The 2 bags just tasted so good. That 3rd bag, it was a little too much. Now I feel a little sick. That's the energy of Venus square Neptune. Just because something's sweet at first doesn't mean it'll continually be sweet. Just because something looks enticing doesn't mean that it'll be a dream from start to finish. Just because something feels good and allows us to distract from our reality does not mean that it's actually helping us move forward in a healthy, productive way. On Saturday, November 9th, at 2 a.m., we have the Aquarius moon trining Jupiter in Gemini. So I definitely feel like whether it was getting lost in socializing, in a date, in wine, in sweets, there was lots of feel-good energy on Friday. It's interesting because we had that first quarter moon, which sometimes could be this crisis point, this choice point, this tension point. But we also had the moon building to trine Jupiter, which can be this energy of optimism, can be this energy of hope, this energy of faith, but also the sort of optimism where it's like, I'll feel fine in the morning after 4 glasses of wine. Will you? Will you really? Or I'll feel good after 3 bags of fun size M&Ms. Will you? Like Jupiter energy, we love its optimism, but sometimes it could be a little overly idealistic. So yes, this energy can be sociable and connected and wanting to maybe break free from this choice point, break free from these toxic cycles, something of that nature, which can be healing because the moon goes on to sextile Chiron. Because like I said, when you walk away from that guitarist, when you kept it cute, you kept it professional, and you went on your way rather than getting swept away in this person to go network and focus on your job. I mean, you're there to work. Hello. You're there to work. That can be healing because whatever happens from here, who's to say? But one thing we know for certain is that in this micro instance, you chose yourself. Like you broke a loop in that micro way, just in the smallest way, around walking away from a guitarist who you had great chemistry with, but you were like, this just seems like a distraction that I cannot afford to put my energy towards right now. In that micro way, you chose yourself. And that is healing because when you make decisions like that, you are affirming, I am someone worthy of prioritizing. Especially important to keep in mind because at 5:15 a.m., Venus in Sagittarius will square Neptune in Pisces, which can be an energy around just wanting to get lost in something, particularly something new, something novel, something adventurous. It's maybe even something that we love or that we find pleasure within. And again, not having the discernment in place this weekend to decide when it's been enough, right? Like this could be the energy around just going gambling, just saying that you're going to spend this much. But once you're there, the sound of the slot machines and the electricity in the air just makes you want to keep playing and keep playing and keep playing and keep playing and take out a little bit more, take out a little bit more, take out a little bit more. You could also feel that high while shopping. This would not be the weekend that I would recommend to go shopping online or in person, anything at all. Because with the square to Neptune, we're certainly not minding the budget. We're certainly not doing that. And we might feel disappointed with some of our purchases. You know, Neptune energy is bait and switch. And things might look pretty, they might look sparkly, they might look glamorous, but Neptune is mirage energy, right? Neptune is movie set energy. We don't see the reality. So we might be getting told, a salesperson or even by our crush, that it's going to be like this, but that's not necessarily an accurate depiction of the reality of what it will actually be like. Should we invest in that vacuum cleaner that they swear is going to change our life? Or should we say yes to this trip with this near stranger, right? And with the energy of Neptune, it's tempting because it's glamorous. And with Venus in Sagittarius, it beckons an adventure, it beckons a quest, it beckons a journey. But you really need to decipher, is this a necessary point of character development to get me towards my aim? Or is this a side quest that's taking me on somebody else's journey, building somebody else's vision, or making this vacuum cleaner salesperson a little bit richer, or making this guitarist feel a little bit cooler because they feel like they have a groupie in the audience because I'm going to their show? Like you really got to decide, is this a quest on my own hero's journey, or is this me being a side character on somebody else's quest? just not the most discerning energy when it comes to suitors, when it comes to love opportunities, when it comes to financial opportunities. And Venus in Sagittarius is optimistic. It wants to believe that this journey to this new city will be life-changing and inspiring. It wants to believe that this vacuum cleaner will change your life. But with the square to Neptune, you might find we come back from the mall and we're like, why did I spend $3,000 on a vacuum cleaner that looks like it was from the 80s? Or coming back from this god-awful show where we had to stay in this horrible dingy motel and we had to stay up way too late and breathe in a lot of cigarette smoke and pitch in for gas for somebody else's tour. Like, this was not the dream that was sold to me when you approached me at the after party and said how romantic it would be if I came and joined you for the next city. Like, this is not giving the dream that you sold me. Type energy. And like I said, with Neptune energy, it's like quicksand. And so it's also acknowledging within the vibe check that you have just noticed this pattern within yourself around you're not really great with boundaries. Like, you just absorb yourself completely into your partner and their visions and their ambitions. Because it's not to say for every single person going 6 months without dating is the right thing to do, or stopping drinking or what have you. It's just acknowledging where it is that you lack control, or where it is that you lack proper boundaries, and wanting to gain clarity around that. And that's where boundaries can be helpful. If you have a tendency where oh, it won't just be one show. I know I'll just get obsessed with them and then I'll follow them through the rest of the tour and then I'm going to cancel all of my contracts. Like, I know myself. I know myself enough where I will go down that path. That's where boundaries are helpful, because it's just defining, I've gone down this path before, I've been here before, and I'm not interested with where it's taking me. Yes, there could be different nuances, different cities. You guys are playing different music. I'll have new songs written about me, but I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I've seen this film before. What's that Taylor Swift song? I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending. So I'm just opting, before you even need to show me the trailer, I'm going to decide I'm good. I'm going to decide I'm good because I'm busy directing my own movie on my own quest. And when it comes to Neptune in real life, like how it plays out for most of us, if it's not showing up around bait and switch vacuums or bait and switch musicians or drinking too much wine, eating too much M&Ms, typical Neptunian energy, it'll just be this energy of procrastination, of laziness, of feeling more drained, more exhausted. Like, Neptune energy can also be the siren's call towards wanting to sleep, right? Wanting to check out from reality, not being in the mood to do anything. Sometimes we experience Neptune energy as feeling a little bit like dissociated or like just not connected to our life. And if that does come up, I would deeply recommend spirituality can be very helpful when it comes to Neptune energy. Creativity can be helpful when it comes to Neptune energy, because Neptune energy can sometimes be the cyclone of existentialism around what matters, who am I in this bigger world, and can be helpful to kind of anchor yourself to the visions, to the creative expression that helps you make sense of a confusing world, that helps give you hope and faith in these times of turmoil or cyclone-like energy. You might be feeling a little unsettled on Saturday with the Aquarius moon squaring Uranus and Taurus midday. You could just have different desires that are coming through, where in the morning time you're like, I want to go to this, and then you change your mind, you're like, I'm actually going to do this. And again, Venus square Neptune, we could be distracted. You could start on one DIY project and then decide instead you're going to reorganize your sock drawer, and then you decide instead you're going to go grab a croissant from the local bakery, and you keep getting distracted, where you come back from the bakery and your partner's like, where's the croissants? And you're like, oh, I went to the pet store and I got our dog some treats. And they're like, what about the croissant? What about the croissants? Again, the temptation for side quests is high on Saturday, and you could just feel this unsettled energy around not feeling satisfied or feeling quite distracted. There can be legitimate changes of plans or just fluctuating waves of energy that you're navigating. The Aquarius moon does sextile Venus in Sagittarius around 4:23 p.m., which can be a nice energy to meet new people, to make new connections, or just to enjoy the beauty and the loveliness that is alive within your world. The moon is then void, which means important tasks you must avoid. Okay, from 4:23 p.m. PST until around 8 p.m. PST, at which point the moon enters dreamy, visionary Pisces. And on Sunday, November 10th, the Pisces moon is feeling deeply, and not just our own emotions, but everybody else's as well. Right? Let's say today we decide, I got distracted yesterday. I didn't make it to the bakery to get those croissants. I got distracted. I got lost on a side quest. Today, I'm going to get the croissants. But then when you get to the bakery, you see the gentleman who is running the bakery, and he works so hard to make all these croissants. Feel like in the time of his life, he probably should be resting. And so you want to buy the croissants, but you feel bad dad because you feel like he shouldn't have to be working so hard at his old age, and now you're conflicted, and now you're crying at the bakery. Crying at the bakery. You don't even know this gentleman. He might love making croissants. The Pisces moon energy is just making you empathize and feel so deeply for him. And so you decide to buy 24 croissants and tip him $50 because you're like, sir, thank you so much for being here and making us these croissants. Like, that's the kind of energy of Pisces moon. You could just be navigating your life today and just feeling strangers' emotions or feeling empathy for random people that you come across, which is not always so productive. But the gift of Pisces energy is that you also feel the happies so intensely as well, around really tuning into the beauty of the changing leaves, or really just seeing the joy of the kids playing at the playground, or just really feeling how good it is to get lost into your favorite album. Like, really allowing yourself the gift to plunge into every emotion deeply. It gets a little nitty gritty when it comes to the intense ones, but you also get access to these really blissful ones as well. And that energy of empathy and feeling for everyone's emotions may clash a little bit with what you think is right or your own perspective, because the Pisces moon squares Mercury in Sagittarius around 2:20 p.m. So this could be a conflict between the head and the heart, what we think is best and what we feel is best. It could also be this energy around having a certain argument or disagreement with our partner or a friend or someone, close to us, and being very dedicated around how we see things or the right way that we think things should be, but also with the Pisces moon feeling bad for them, being like, gosh, I empathize with where it is that they're coming from, but I also think that wasn't right what they did, but I understand why they did it. Like, you could be feeling a tension like that. And you might be feeling a little somber to wrap up your weekend. Pisces moon aligns with Saturn. It's kind of that energy if Venus square Neptune is a little bit of a trip or a little bit of a high energy. Moon Saturn is kind of the energy of like sobering up, where it's like coming back to reality, coming back to your responsibilities. If Venus square Neptune was saying yes to a spontaneous road trip to go travel with this band, Moon aligning with Saturn is the drive back when you recognize, I chipped in for their gas and I had to stay in that horrible motel and the show was not even that good, and that person actually wasn't that nice and they kind of had bad breath. Like, it's just this sobering return or crash back to reality that isn't the most pleasant. But in terms of our practical world, it just could be a time in which you are cleaning, you're vacuuming. You don't need a $3,000 vacuum from the sleazy salesperson in order to get a good vacuum around the home, okay? Let me say that. So you could be vacuuming, you could be doing laundry, attuning to the maintenance of life, which sometimes the energy of Saturn, it's like, gosh, life is so boring. Like, am I always gonna have to do laundry? Am I always going to have to vacuum? Am I always going to have these Sundays where I have to return to work tomorrow? Like, the energy of Saturn could just make things feel a little stark, a little boring. And it's like, yes, life is maintenance, but it is a gift to have things to maintain. It's a gift to have a home to vacuum. It's a gift to have clothes to clean. It's a gift to have a job to go to, which I know is annoying. We've got some energy in Sagittarius. We've got to stay focused to the big picture. So my loves, that is our week. Our Magic Monday mantra of the week is, my goals are worthy of my devotion. What would your life look like if you went all in on yourself? All in on your visions, on your dreams, on your ambitions, which differ person to person. Even if you don't want to launch your own photography business, what would it look like to go all in on that vision of the family that you want to raise? What would it look like to go all in on that vision of being able to create your own farm or create your own homestead? What would it look like to be devoted to your own becoming and not being knocked off course by other people's visions? Scorpio season is beckoning you to find out. Because what I consider a very particularly disappointing brand of grief is the grieving who we could have been or what could have been. And again, I'm not saying we have to get lost in regret and what could have been and what should have been. Things played out exactly as they were made to. But when we think about the detours that we have taken around getting enveloped in this relationship and putting their needs before our own, or losing ourselves through trying to secure validation from our boss, or losing months or even years of our life due to imposter syndrome, self-doubt, insecurity, there's an energy of grief around, gosh, what could have happened? Who could I have been had I put the energy that I expended there and put it into what genuinely meant something to me? What I genuinely want my legacy to be. It's Scorpio season. At the end of our lives, those regrets and that grieving around who we could have been will only be more and more acute. If you are listening now, regardless of how much time has gone by and how much time you lost within the wrong relationship, the wrong job, regardless, there has never been a more aligned time to go all in now. And not to get morbid, but you don't have to grieve the person that you could have been at the end of your life. You don't have to grieve the ambitions that you could have made happen at the end of your life. You don't have to grieve the dreams that you did not fulfill at the end of your life, because you have time. All of us watching this have varying amounts of minutes and hours and days that we have allotted to us on this planet, but you have the gift of time in some essence, in some way. You've just given me an hour of it, which, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed our hour together. I know that these horoscopes are quite lengthy, but what I'm saying is that you do have time. You do not need to get to the end of your life and grieve all of that potential that you had that was wasted due to self-doubt and insecurity, or all of those dreams that you let die because other people's dreams seemed more important, or all of those visions for the future that you let slip out of your fingers because you did not see yourself as worthy enough to dedicate yourself to it. You deserve your own devotion. Your dreams deserve your own devotion. And so at the end of the video, we always play a little game where if you made it to the end of the forecast, I let you know a secret word or emoji to drop within the comments to let me know that you made it to the end. And this week's emoji is going to be the emoji with a cowboy hat on it. And the word is going to be yeehaw. To just shout out that bizarre moment that came up when all my mind was giving me was yeehaw. All my mind was giving me was yeehaw. You know, most of the time here in the Cosmic Corner, I am just as surprised by what comes out of my mouth as you guys are. Like, I have no idea what's coming next. And sometimes a yeehaw comes out. And that's life, and that's Magic Monday. I want to give another warm thank you to Astrology.com for sponsoring this week's Magic Monday. Reminder that you can get your 2025 premium horoscope report by clicking the link within my description to get dialed in on what is coming up within the year ahead for your sign, what houses will be alive, what planetary shifts are impacting what arena of your life, what major aspects and full moons to have on your radar as you are plotting out your visions and dreams. I'll see you again next week, same time, same place. See you in the Cosmic Corner. But until then, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.